Welcome back everyone for another Frightening Friday flick, and tonight we are finishing the trilogy of The Fly. And I want to start out by saying that not long ago there was an infestation in my house of flies. We couldn't find out where were these flies coming from, and it was turning into a big problem. They just kept popping up out of nowhere. We eventually found the source. The source was the chimney. There was a dead animal in the chimney, and the flies just kept coming from that dead animal. But it just goes to show that little flies can be turned into something bigger. And The Fly is turned into 3 movies. Tonight's movie review is Curse of the Fly. It came out in 1965. And this is the first Fly without, sadly, Vincent Price. And the reason for that is because Vincent Price was under contract at the time with American International Pictures, so he couldn't be in this film. And this film was the only out of the 3 that was produced in England. The film stars George Baker and also Carole Gray. Carole Gray was very stunning. She was beautiful in this movie. I enjoyed her a lot. In fact, I thought the acting in this movie was pretty good for being a B horror film. So, The Curse of the Fly, it is another black and white movie, just like the previous one, the second one. And I want to start out by saying that this movie had a little more of a Island of Dr. Moreau feeling to it. And the reason for that is because this is a little bit of a spoiler, so if you haven't seen the movie, you might want to come back to the review. So in this movie, we don't actually have a fly character. There's no half human, half fly. And I felt like I was a little disappointed about that, but they wanted to change the story up a bit, and I can understand that. But we don't have a half human, half fly. We have other creatures, half human, half whatever. And there's a lot of them in this movie. It's not just one creature, and there's a lot of horror aspects in the house, and I'll get to that, but definitely has that Island of Dr. Moreau feeling to it. So the story, we come back to the Delambre family. The Delambres were the people in the first movie and the second one, and this is supposed to be years after the first movie. And this movie, it kind of ignores what happens in the second movie, Return of the Fly, and I thought that was a little unfortunate. When I saw the movie, I honestly took the movie as, so in the first movie, he dies. In the second movie, his son is in it, and miraculously, his son turns into a fly, but they were able to reunite the body of the fly with the body of the human, blah, blah, blah. Everybody's happy at the end of the second one. So that was his son. Now, I took this movie as the Delambres in this movie being basically the son and grandson of the person in Return of the Fly. Now, that's not how it really is, but that's how I took it, and it made the movie quite better. It's a little bit of a continuation. They actually talk about the first movie quite a bit, but they changed what happened in the first movie. In this movie, they say that they were able to reunite the fly with the human, and the original Delambre was able to live. So don't take it, I mean, you can take it like that. I took it how I just explained. But in this story, the Delambres are at it again. They have to get this teleportation thing down. At this point, they're able to teleport someone from London all the way to Canada or wherever. But so they're getting to it, of course, but the scientists, the Delambres, have basically lost their sense of morality at this point. They become mad scientists, and this is where the whole Island of Dr. Moreau thing comes into place, because they're experimenting on humans. So, Dr. Moreau, sorry. But So the Delambres have lost their minds. The story focuses. In fact, I want to talk about the intro. It's so ridiculous. It starts out with Carole Gray busting out of a insane asylum, basically, and she's in her underwear and her bra. And I thought this was, oh god, this is so 60s, and it was in slow motion. It was very cheesy, but it definitely gets the guy's attention, I must say, because she's very beautiful. So she stumbles upon George Baker's character. He's on vacation. They fall in love. They get married so quickly. He has no idea that she had lost her mind a little bit. She had a nervous breakdown. So she moves in with him. They're newlyweds, and she has no idea about his life. They just basically got married on a whim. And I feel sorry for her because she married into the Delambre family. And as we know from the previous two movies, the Delambre family is pretty messed up. The Delambre family is at it again. And in fact, I want to say that they kind of make Carole Gray feel like she's losing her mind a little bit when they learn that she bust out of an insane asylum. And it reminded me of the movie Gaslight, in which because in that movie they make what's her name? I can't remember her name right now. They make her feel like she's losing her mind over time, but of course she's not losing her mind. But anyways, I felt sorry for her. I thought the special effects were pretty good in this movie. They upped the violence, that's for sure. There's one scene in which one of the Delambres has to hack up with an axe a mutated body that had been transported to London that is just grotesque. It was pretty gross, I must say. So he has to hack it up with the axe. They up the violence. I want to talk about the ending. It's not the very, very end, but close to the end. I thought it was very good because... So don't come back to the review if you haven't seen this movie yet. So they teleport. One of the sons teleports his father, Delambre, because they're two sons, and then the father, they teleport him to London. However, the teleportation machine in London has been destroyed by the other son. So where's their dad? He's lost in space or wherever. I thought that was very dramatic. I thought that was a great ending. However, the movie continues on, and the last minute or two of the movie I thought was pretty terrible. In fact, it ends with something silly like, "Is it the end? Question mark?" I don't know. Just very cheesy. I was, of course, sad that Vincent Price wasn't in this movie. He always makes movies so much better. As I said, the opening of the film was ridiculous with the whole underwear jumping out of the insane asylum. There was no fly creature. It was sad. But I want to say the whole curse of the fly, they're cursed, of course, obviously, because their lives are still being ruined by this whole teleportation thing and the whole fly incident. The curse is there because, of course, in Return of the Fly, we saw they were able to put the son back together with the fly body, or they were able to put both in the machine at the end, and the man was back in his body and the fly was back in his body. However, the curse of the fly is that there were side effects from this, and that the son of the fly man, who originally had turned into a fly, he passed on fly traits to his son and grandkids and so on. So the main character of this movie, George Baker, he has fly traits in him, so he has to take a special serum all the time, or else he will age very quickly. So that's the curse of the fly. I also want to mention that the inspector in this movie, he's the inspector in the very first movie. he comes back in this movie. He was originally played by Herbert Marshall, and he was fantastic in the original Fly. He's replaced by another actor named Charles Carson. Wasn't as good, but so that inspector returns in this movie, but it's not played by the same character. No actors from the original The Fly or even the second movie come back in this movie, which is a little disappointing. But all being said, we have to finish the Delambre story. So, of course, I'm going to recommend you watch this movie. It was pretty good. The acting was good. There were some good dramatic things. As I said, they upped the violence. I definitely think that the pros outweigh the cons. So definitely watch this movie. That's going to be it for The Fly. There were only 3 classic ones, trilogy, but it's about time we swatted all these flies out. That was it for this Frightening Friday flick. Buzz, buzz, buzz. Have a good night.